Hello, welcome to the inaugural episode of the Scissortail Podcast. My name is Porter Cunningham. I'm joined by my co-host Will Bowersox. Will, say hello.
Greetings to all of the diehard fans tuning in live from the interwebs. Porter, how's your Sunday been?
It's been pretty good. Had a nice little Sunday. Watched some playoff football. Went up to the old soccer city and won our indoor game there. Sported my new Rayo OKC shirt. How about yours?
You know, I just was on Twitter most of the day, hitting refresh on the Rayo OKC profile page. Not a lot of news that came out today, but I feel like it was a good way to display my fanhood.
Well, let's dive right into it then and see what we can cover today.
Sounds great.
Let's start from the beginning. This being the first episode, we just want to talk a little bit about ourselves. Not that we're not going to do that a whole lot anyways, but my name is Porter Cunningham, born and raised in Oklahoma City. Ardent soccer supporter, soccer player, and just really excited to be able to cover a new team in the Oklahoma City area.
Yeah, and my name is Will Bowersox, and long-time bench warmer in the high school and indoor soccer circuits. Currently living not in Oklahoma City, but that will probably be changed by episode 2 or 3 of the Scissortail Pod. So looking forward to getting back and seeing all that OKC has to explore and following along with Rayo OKC's first season.
Great. Well, now that you know a little bit about us, let's dive right into what we know about the team. First of all, what or who is Rayo OKC? I guess I'll go ahead and start and say that what we know so far is, obviously, if you're listening, you probably know this as well. They're an expansion NASL team, North American Soccer League team, set to begin play this year in the 2016 season.
Yeah, if you didn't know this, and I actually just Googled this, Rayo is Spanish for Ray, which I believe refers to not the pronoun like someone's name, but Ray as in like a ray of light.
Is that right? I read somewhere that Rayo means lightning or thunder or something.
You know, I'll have to send an email to the Google Translate editors, but I say we just roll with it. So,
okay, all right, great.
Let's
We're going to be the Rays, the Oklahoma City Rays. All right.
Yeah, you know, there's a whole sunshine theme that's flowing through Oklahoma sports. You got the Oklahoma City Thunder, whose white, blue, and orange jerseys are supposed to evoke the colors of the Oklahoma sunset, and now we have the Rays. So, yeah.
Okay.
Well, let's talk about the brief history of the franchise. I think most people probably think that the franchise is, weeks old, but in truth, that's not entirely true. If you've heard of Oklahoma City FC, which is basically a youth academy for both male and females, that was an NASL team that was planned to launch back in 2012. There was an announcement, and it was under the Oklahoma City FC banner, but for various reasons, I guess they never really got out of the starting blocks. And part of the ownership group then broke away to start a new franchise in Oklahoma City called Energy FC, who has just completed, I believe, their first season, maybe their second season, in the USL League. More recently, the Oklahoma City FC entity had a majority share of their shares purchased by Rayo Vallecano de Madrid in 2015. So that, of course, is the La Liga-based club that is behind the new Fighting Rays of Oklahoma City.
So it's good that you mentioned that, Will, that affiliation with Rayo Vallecano. It really was the spark, I guess you could say, that finally got this team up off the ground, and more than just an academy program. So let's talk a little bit about that partnership or that ownership, I guess, that relationship. What are some of the reasons, or I'm sorry, the implications that you can see arising with that partnership with Rayo Vallecano?
Yeah, I think it's interesting. I mean, a lot of soccer fans probably, at least as purists, probably try to avoid kind of the global corporate branding that we're starting to see. You've got the New York City FC, which is an affiliate of Manchester City. There's an Australian entity under the same branding. You've got the Red Bull entities in New York and Germany and Switzerland, or just Switzerland, I should say. And so you have to wonder, maybe it's being cynical, but is this kind of the same thing, right? Is this just kind of global profiteering in the name of sport? And I think that's a very cynical way to look at it. And I think you've seen some frustration from the Rayo Vallecano of Madrid supporters, probably kind of by that. I think it's kind of known as a populist club, and B, taking away what they see as resources that should go to their first division team, which currently is locked into a relegation fight. But I think the upside, or the non-cynical way to look at it, is it's just Oklahoma City is a growing market, certainly can support multiple professional sports franchises. And, the Oklahoma City FC Heritage Club, which was originally founded as a way for youth players to develop. Obviously, in the American game today, that's kind of a key building block that maybe is being neglected. And so having this NASL franchise come in and do almost a reverse merger of sorts with the existing youth infrastructure, it sets up quite nicely. It's a nice future. There's more investment that's going to come from the Spanish entity, and hopefully we should see some nice youth develop.
Right, I agree 100%. And you mentioned the relegation battle that Rayo Vallecano is in currently, and that's something we'll discuss more as the season goes on. I know a lot of people that I've talked to are concerned about what might happen to Rayo OKC should Rayo Vallecano go down into the second division there in Spain. So certainly something we'll discuss in future episodes as their season finishes up. So I think now we can transition into a little bit about the North American Soccer League. The NASL plays a different schedule than people may be used to. They have a split season. So they'll actually have two separate seasons, a spring and a fall season. The spring runs from early April until around July 4th. And then about a 1 month break occurs. And then the fall season runs from early August until early November. And then what happens from there is the two winners, the winner of each season, I guess I should say, meet in a one-game championship called the Soccer Bowl. So the thinking behind that was that if you have a poor spring season, your entire season is not lost. There's always a chance to come back in the fall season, play better round ball, play better soccer, if you will, and have a shot at a championship. So really going to be interesting to see how that meshes with the other local sports here in Oklahoma City.
Yeah, it's interesting. So, I mean, you probably know this if you're listening, but the NASL is not exactly the newest professional soccer league in America. It's got roots and heritage that dates way back. You've seen international stars like Beckenbauer and Pele play. So the NASL it's a great league. I'm glad that it's establishing itself as kind of the second division, the second tier of sports, at least in the game in soccer. And I think the split season kind of soccer ball matchup, it kind of evokes some of the format that you see in the Liga MX. So just certainly interesting. So let's take a quick break we'll play some sponsors ads. It's probably just going to be blank airtime. We'll come back and talk about the season upcoming ahead.
All right, welcome back to the Scissortail Podcast. Once again, my name is Porter Cunningham, joined by my co-host Will Bower-Sox.
Greetings. Thank you for listening to our advertisers' attempt to steal your money.
Yeah, go support them. And if you're interested in sponsoring the Scissortail Podcast, we'll give you a great discount on being the first ever sponsor of the Scissortail podcast. So we'll tell you how to contact us a little bit later in the show.
So Porter, looking ahead to the first season, seems like there hasn't been a lot announced coming out of the club. So let's just quickly review what do we know today about the actual soccer playing enterprise that is to come.
Sure. So as we discussed in the first segment, we know the ownership group, the front office, who's going to be running the team. We also know that at least for their first season or two, they've announced that Rayo OKC will be playing at the Yukon Millers High School football stadium. So they have some nice renderings out there of the Rayo OKC badge and logos all over the stadium. If you've looked into season tickets, they have a great rendering out there of what that'll look like. So nice kind of Go ahead.
We're told this is a fairly contentious point amongst the soccer intelligentsia of Oklahoma City. So I guess we'll come back to this point.
Sure. Yeah, we will likely discuss that point quite a bit throughout the series. Obviously, we also have a badge. Whenever they announced the team, they announced both the stadium and the badge. So the badge is almost a carbon copy of the Rayo Vallecano badge, but it does have the ROKC instead of the RVDM, and it's also got the Scissortail flycatcher, which is a state bird of Oklahoma, featured in the top left portion of the badge. You can see that badge on our Twitter. It's our Twitter avatar. So very plain to see.
It's a classy badge.
It really looks good. It really does look good. You know, the shirt that I wore today to indoor soccer has just the badge, and then Elevate, which is the kind of the message I think the team is trying to send right now. That's their hashtag and everything. Then I got a lot of compliments on the badge. A lot of people really like it. So very good looking.
I have to say that I don't own any apparel right now, but assuming that I do come across a jersey, I look forward to kissing the badge as a goal celebration, both in indoor soccer and in my fanhood.
Of course, I can already see it now. You can see now, first goal of the season. You'll be there at the game, just kissing the badge over and over again.
Of course, true loyalist.
The big announcement that was last Thursday actually was the head coach was announced in a live ceremony. I was there myself, and Will, if you don't mind, I'd like to speak a little bit about the atmosphere there quickly. It was hosted at McNelly's, which is in Midtown, Oklahoma City. It's kind of a nice hipster spot.
The throbbing hub of the new metropolis.
Sure. It's got one of those places that has a ton of beers on tap. So if you like hoppy beers, it's your place to be. But it was a really well put together event, actually. A good mix of media and fans there. I met the gentleman who's starting the supporters group for Rayo OKC. We hope to have him on the podcast here in the next couple episodes to talk about that. And the team announced there that Alan Marcina would be the head coach of the team this year. So those that follow the NASL knew who that was immediately. He was the head coach of the San Antonio Scorpions from 2013 to 2015. Actually won the Soccer Bowl with them in 2014.
Hated rivals of Rayo OKC.
Hated rivals that actually no longer exist, unfortunately, but we'll get to that later as well.
Because they suck.
So San Antonio won the Soccer Bowl in 2014, and then unfortunately the next season they finished tied for last, and that did not go well with the management there, so they let Alan go. And supposedly the story goes that they fired him in the airport as soon as the team returned to San Antonio in the baggage claim. So
sounds embarrassing.
He didn't leave on great terms, but we're happy to have him. He plays a very controversial. He's a very controversial coach. He plays a very aggressive style of attacking soccer. So it should be very exciting to watch, at least. Whether it's successful or not, we'll see. But it will be exciting to watch for sure.
I'd rather watch an attacking, entertaining brand of soccer than the opposite. I guess, Porter, my one question, since you were there in person, I assume you had the chance to size him up, this Alan Marcina character. Do you think that if it came down to it, you could take him in a fight?
That's a really good question. I think I'm taller than he is, but he did play professional soccer for a number of years.
Do you think he has a lot of lower leg strength that
Yeah.
you probably wouldn't expect?
Yeah, I think as long as I could, keep my reach, I might be able to take him. Let's hope I never have to find out.
Concur.
All right.
So what competitions that the team will be in this season? So one of the great things about soccer, both in the U.S. but of course internationally, is concurrent competition. So what we know today is for sure that the team will be participating in the NASL regular season, the spring and the fall, and if we're lucky, the Soccer Bowl. But we'll also, we think, be participating in what's called the U.S. Open Cup. So, Porter, first, maybe for those who aren't as familiar, what is the U.S. Open Cup? And then could you speak about some of the scuttlebutt that is around Rayo OKC participating or not?
Sure. So the Lamar Hunt U.S. Open Cup is sometimes best described as the U.S.'s version of the known to some in England, and it's essentially a large-scale tournament open to almost any team, amateur, professional, that is registered with the United States Soccer Federation. So you register with the USSF, and then you register to join the tournament, and there are a certain number of teams from the amateur level that earn their spots very early on by playing in regional tournaments. And then as the rounds continue, the larger, more professional teams join, including teams from the NPDL, the USL, the NASL, and of course, finally, the MLS. So it's a single round knockout open tournament for the entire country.
Yeah, it's actually, there's a ton of history behind the Open Cup. It's been around as a competition since 1914. It's actually the world's third longest running open soccer tournament. And the last non-Division I team to win it was the Rochester Rhinos.
Rhiners.
NASL. Excuse me. So we'll see. We'll be curious to see if the streak of MLS teams continuing to win holds on, or if some of these lower division teams can go all the way. Certainly in the last year, there was a lot of, I guess you could call it upsets, lower division teams beating higher division teams. But I guess
now,
I'll go ahead and
trivia question for you. Do you know the two teams that have won the U.S. Open Cup the most?
I do. That would be Bethlehem Steel FC and Maccabi Los Angeles with 5 titles each.
And I believe both those teams are semi-pro, aren't they?
I don't know. I think both of them are defunct, but I could be wrong. And just in case anybody is wondering at home, we're certainly not sitting in front of web browsers. So I'm going, of course, all of that off the top of my head, my extensive knowledge of U.S. soccer history. But Porter, there was some rumors this week that maybe Rayo OKC wouldn't be in this year's Open Cup. You might think that just any team that's in a professional league is automatically entered into it, but I guess we don't have any confirmation that Rayo OKC has registered to play in the Open Cup this year. So until we have a hard confirm, we won't know for sure. Obviously, as a fan base, we'd prefer to have more games to see and more games for talent to develop in, and it would be a little bit embarrassing to not be represented. But I guess we'll just see what happens.
It would certainly be embarrassing, and also the other thing that's important to note about this is since there is no promotion and relegation in the U.S. soccer pyramid right now. The only way, barring a friendly, which I'm not sure either side would agree to, the only way that Rayo OKC would face either other in-state professional team in the Tulsa FC Roughnecks, or Energy FC would be in U.S. Open Cup play, since those are regional seeds that early on in the tournament. So Great. Interesting to see for sure.
Let's look ahead. What announcements are pending? What do we have to look forward to about the team?
Yeah, we still don't know much about the team. It's one of the major question marks that everyone has thrown out there is how will this team play in just a few short months? You know, other teams in NASL are having preseason right now. They know their teams for the most part. There were actually a couple of friendlies today against German Bundesliga sides against NASL teams. So certainly a lot to come out still. First and foremost for us, I'm sure, is a kit. You know, are they going to come out with some kits? Are they going to have that great Rayo Vallecano black kit with the rainbow sash that represents, I think it was 7 different charity groups were featured on that sash that a lot of the proceeds of the sales of that shirt go to. I know you had some questions about that as well.
Yeah, I mean, I do love the black kit as a second or third kit option, but I guess my main question, what I'll be looking for is, will there be a sunset orange jersey to be worn on home game Sundays? So I've asked multiple times from my personal email accounts and Twitters, and haven't heard back anything yet from the club. So looking forward to hearing the news on that.
Sure. And obviously they still need to come out with the schedule. That's supposed to come out, according to the NASL League office, pretty quickly this week or next week, I think is what they're expecting. So that'll tell us a lot. Our friends down in Atlanta still don't know if they're going to field an NASL team this year. Their team has been up for sale for, I think, a year now. And with the MLS team being announced coming there shortly, they're not sure if they're even going to play a season this year. So for Paul down there in Atlanta, we're hoping that the schedule includes a stop in Atlanta this year. And then obviously the most important thing for the team, we really need to start announcing some player signings in the very near future if we're going to be participating in the spring season this year.
Yeah, that kind of goes without saying. Sounds like the scouting efforts are well underway based on the comments from Thursday's coaching announcement, but we'll have to just stay tuned on that. And finally, I guess as a fan, what you can also look forward to is the opening of the team store. So it opens actually this Friday, January 15th, coincidentally, also probably a payday. So get your disposable income ready to snap up some Rayo gear. I think the Rayo is rumored to be sponsored by Nike, which is, in my opinion, a good thing. They certainly have some of the fresher kits in the world scene. So we'll just look forward to seeing what's out there and spending some hard-earned U.S. dollars on supporting my local club.
And I do want to mention that everything I could find out is that is just an online store. I don't think there's a brick and mortar store announced yet, but you will be able to go onto the team's website and through a portal there, get to the merchandise section and order scarves and T-shirts and things like that. Hopefully they'll have kits on there shortly. That would be nice.
Yeah, enter discount coupon code Scissortail Pod fan for life, and you'll be eligible to receive a 25% discount.
And if it doesn't work, it's not our fault.
Send an email to the general manager.
All right, we're going to take
a break.
Then we're going to get into our free talk segment, where we can talk about pretty much anything and everything we want. So stay with us. All right, welcome back to our final segment of the inaugural episode of the Scissortail podcast. This is our free talk segment. So this is where we just kind of discuss anything and everything around the soccer world. It won't always necessarily center on the NASL or Rayo OKC. It could be anything, but lots to talk about in the Rayo world. So we're going to stick here with our free talk segment today. Will, let's talk about that other team that's here in the Oklahoma City area that has what people would call a steady, significant fan base. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a little bit weird, right? So, I mean, I myself have gone to Energy FC games back when I was trying to explore what it meant to have a professional soccer team in Oklahoma City. I've been known to wear Energy jerseys. And so it feels, I mean, certainly opening myself up to criticism for just kind of abandoning the ship. But, you know, I just want to continue to see what professional soccer in Oklahoma City has to offer. And, you know, I'm not saying that Rayo is going to come out and win the CONCACAF Champions League, but I like the fact that there's youth development inherent in the Rayo model. So I guess that's probably my main draw for looking to explore more. But you know, if you're active on Twitter, you've probably seen a lot of negative comments, so perhaps made in jest. But you know, I think the obvious critiques, the easy ones, are if you want to be critical of Rayo OKC, is that one, you know, they're going to be based in Yukon, which is a 25-30 minute drive. Two, they'll be playing in a high school stadium, and so you know, and three, they don't have any players signed yet, right? So I guess my only comment to that is that let's not forget that the Energy also played their first year in a high school stadium, and I think from there, if you want to assume that a NASL club that is backed and majority owned by a Madrid-based, aka the capital of Spain, first division Spanish league side, isn't planning on getting a stadium of its own in Oklahoma City at some point, and that might be a valid assumption, but I wouldn't hang my hat on it as a known fact.
Sure, and let me say that going right along with that, I think it's good. We wouldn't want the existing team welcoming their competitor in with open arms. You know, a little bit of vitriol is good. We want this to become, if this is going to be a passionate city about soccer that is going to be able to support two teams, they kind of got to hate each other a little bit. And so I'm okay with, well, I don't know if okay with is the right thing to say, but I totally understand the supporters group for Energy FC trying to get out in front of it and throwing some shots out there. And you know, certainly the part about not having any players signed is a cause for concern for Rayo supporters as well. So it's not something that is completely offside for them to throw out there. But it will be interesting to see going forward. And to that point, you know, a lot of people say, can Oklahoma City support two professional soccer teams? Well, you know, if they both had home games, I think we're only looking at 20 to 25,000 people to sell out both stadiums, maybe 30,000, which is a small amount compared to the number of people who enjoy playing or viewing soccer in the Oklahoma City area. And to add on to that, at the coaching announcement, there was a very heavy influence of the Hispanic media and the Hispanic community there, which I think will be great for Rayo OKC, obviously with the connection to Rayo Vallecano. I know the Hispanic community here is not obviously inherently Spanish or of Spanish origin, but the fact that there's a shared language and a shared culture there, I think the club's going to go after that hard, which is going to be cool and should really pad the supporter space.
Yeah, absolutely. I think just looking forward, you know, sometimes you see cities with multiple clubs how different clubs take on different personalities within that city. I don't know that that's going to be the case completely in Oklahoma City. I think the energy really hang their hat on being like a family-friendly environment. Certainly, my experience at their games was very tame. I mean, you've got the ultras, and I say that term very loosely, leading a halftime singing of the Oklahoma State song. So I think Oklahoma City, you're probably going to see something similar coming out of the Rayo OKC ownership group, because it's, obviously you'd rather have more people there, and families that's an easy way to get people in the seats. But it'd be curious to see what kind of different things get picked up between the two clubs. And I guess, the last thing I would say is, just if I had to make a prediction, people are not going to like this, right? But, Taft Stadium is a municipal property, and, I think if you get the proper agreement struck, there's no reason that both clubs couldn't play out their home games from the same place. So I think that would be a really unique wrinkle to the local rivalry if both clubs share the same stadium. It could make Derby days in the future super fun. So I've got my finger on that. I could totally whiff on that, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah, it's an interesting statement to make for sure. That would create quite a stir if that were to happen. And also, I think it's kind of a little bit of a race to see who can get the real first true soccer-specific stadium in Oklahoma City. So we'll see what happens with that over the next few years. But that pretty much wraps it up for us on episode 1 of the Scissortail podcast. We appreciate everybody for listening to us. Please forgive us for the roughness of this episode and the future episodes. We're new to this. We're just going to kind of throw our thoughts out there and try to refine it as we go. We want to thank our sponsors. There are none, so thanks to nobody. But seriously, if you do want to sponsor us, you can get in touch with us through our Twitter handle at Scissortail Pod, or our email, which is scissortailpod@gmail.com. And we'll post those with this episode on SoundCloud or wherever we may end up posting it, so you can get to those easily. Also,
I was just going to say, we kind of fell into this. So I was just cutting you off. I was just going to thank the NASL podcaster community for their help with encouraging us and giving us tips on getting this off the ground.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely specifically want to thank Paul at ATL Gorilla Talk, the Soccer Heretic at Soccer Heretic, Cosmos Country Podcast at TICC Pod, and the Indy 11 podcast at Bloody_Shambles. Those guys, very helpful, very encouraging, and hopefully this is something that'll be successful going forward.
Yeah, I like that. Soccer Heretic guy. He's got Oklahoma roots, so I enjoy his thoughts.
Yeah, we hope to help him out and everybody else who is really wondering what's going on with Rayo OKC right now. Hopefully we can fill that vacuum of information with some good quality stuff. So exciting times going forward. We'll see what happens.
All right. Thanks for listening.
All right. We'll see you guys next time.